There's a moment in every man's life when everything changes. It's not dramatic. There's no lightning bolt, no voice from heaven, just a quiet realization that hits you like a freight train. You realize you've been living someone else's life, chasing someone else's dreams, following someone else's path, and suddenly none of it matters anymore. Because you found it, your purpose, the reason you're here, the thing you were created to do. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. Once you feel it, everything else becomes background noise. This is what happens when a man finds his purpose. Everything changes. Not around you. In you. The first thing that happens is clarity. Suddenly, decisions become easy. You know what to say yes to and what to say no to. You know who belongs in your life and who doesn't. You know what deserves your time and what's just a distraction. Before, you were confused, pulled in 100 different directions, trying to please everyone, trying to be everything, scattered, unfocused, uncertain. But now you have a filter, a lens, a standard. Does this move me toward my purpose or away from it? Does this person support my mission or sabotage it? Does this opportunity align with my calling or just stroke my ego? When a man finds his purpose, he becomes selective, ruthlessly selective. Not because he's arrogant, because his time is sacred, his energy is limited, his focus is precious, and he refuses to waste any of it on things that don't matter. The second thing that happens is energy. Suddenly, you're not tired anymore. Not like you were before. Yeah, you might be physically exhausted from the work, but there's a fire inside you that won't go out. A drive that doesn't need coffee or motivation videos or someone pushing you. You wake up before your alarm. You go to bed thinking about tomorrow. You work when everyone else is playing. You build when everyone else is sleeping. Not because you have to, because you want to, because you can't not do it. That's what purpose does. It gives you fuel that nothing else can provide. It turns obligation into obsession. It transforms work into worship. It makes the impossible feel inevitable. People will look at you and say, "I don't know how you do it." And you won't know how to explain it, because they're living for the weekend. You're living for the mission. They're chasing comfort. You're chasing calling. They're trying to get through the day. You're trying to change the world. The third thing that happens is peace. Real peace. Not the absence of problems. The presence of certainty. You know you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to do. The anxiety fades. The comparison stops. The insecurity dissolves. Because you're not competing with anyone anymore. You're not trying to be someone else. You're not measuring yourself against their timeline. You're running your race. Your lane. Your pace. And there's a peace in that money can't buy and success can't give. You stop caring what people think. Not in a reckless way. In a free way. Their opinions don't control you anymore. Their approval doesn't validate you. Their criticism doesn't destroy you. Because you know who you are and what you're here to do. And that's enough. The fourth thing that happens is courage. When a man finds his purpose, he becomes dangerous. Not reckless. Not stupid. But fearless in a way that makes others uncomfortable. He'll walk away from the safe job, the comfortable relationship, the easy path. Not because he's irresponsible, because staying there would be betraying his calling. And he'd rather risk everything than live a lie. He'll start the business everyone says will fail. He'll move to the city everyone says is crazy. He'll pursue the dream everyone says is impossible. Not because he's naive, because he's convicted. And conviction doesn't negotiate with comfort. People will call him crazy, impulsive, unrealistic. He doesn't care. Because he's seen what playing it safe does to men. It kills them slowly. It turns them into ghosts walking around pretending to be alive. And he refuses to become that. When a man finds his purpose, he'd rather die trying than live wondering. He'd rather fail chasing his calling than succeed at someone else's. He'd rather be broke doing what matters than rich doing what doesn't. The fifth thing that happens is discipline. Motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't need pump-up speeches anymore. You don't need someone to hold you accountable. You hold yourself accountable because your purpose demands it. You wake up early not because you're trying to be productive, because you have work to do that matters. You work out not because you want to look good, because your mission requires you to be strong. You read not because you're supposed to, because you need the wisdom. Every decision becomes intentional. Every habit becomes strategic. Every day becomes sacred, because you're not just living anymore. You're building, creating, constructing something that will outlive you. Distractions lose their power. Entertainment becomes boring. Parties become pointless. Drama becomes exhausting. Not because you're judgmental, because you've tasted something better. And now everything else feels empty. The sixth thing that happens is isolation. And this is where most men quit. Because finding your purpose often means losing your crowd. The friends who don't understand. The family who doesn't support. The people who like the old version of you and resent the new one. When a man finds his purpose, he walks alone for a while. Not forever, but long enough to build what God called him to build without interference. Long enough to develop strength without enablers. Long enough to become who he needs to be without people holding him back. This is the hardest part, because humans need connection. We want people to celebrate us. We want our sacrifices to be acknowledged. We want someone to understand. But when you're walking in purpose, most people won't understand. They'll think you're obsessed. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of thinking you're better than them. They won't get it. And you have to be okay with that. Because your purpose isn't about them. It's about the people you haven't met yet. The lives you're going to change. The legacy you're going to leave. The assignment God gave you that nobody else can complete. The seventh thing that happens is impact. When a man finds his purpose and actually walks in it, he changes the world around him. Not intentionally. Inevitably. His presence shifts atmospheres. His words carry weight. His life becomes a testimony. Not because he's trying to be inspirational. Because purpose is magnetic. It attracts. It influences. It transforms. People start watching him. Asking questions. Wanting what he has. Not his possessions. His peace, his conviction, his certainty, the fire in his eyes, the strength in his spirit. And without even trying, he becomes a leader, not because he pursued a position, because he pursued his purpose. And purpose creates platforms. Faithfulness creates influence. Obedience creates opportunity. Young men start following him, watching how he moves, learning how he thinks, modeling how he lives. Because in a world full of boys pretending to be men, a man walking in purpose stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. The eighth thing that happens is resistance. And this catches most men off guard. Because they think finding purpose means everything gets easier. It doesn't. It means everything gets harder. But it also means you're strong enough to handle it. The enemy doesn't attack people who are wasting their lives. He attacks people who are living their purpose. He doesn't bother with men who are distracted. He targets men who are focused. Because a man walking in purpose is a threat to the kingdom of darkness. So expect the attacks, the setbacks, the obstacles, the betrayals, the tests, the trials. Not as proof you're on the wrong path. As confirmation you're on the right one. Every great man in history faced opposition. Moses had Pharaoh. David had Saul. Jesus had Pharisees. Paul had persecution, and you will have yours. But here's what they don't tell you. When a man finds his purpose, resistance doesn't stop him. It fuels him. Every attack becomes ammunition. Every setback becomes setup. Every obstacle becomes opportunity. Because purpose gives you a reason to keep going that's bigger than your pain. A mission that's greater than your fear. A calling that's stronger than your circumstances. The ninth thing that happens is legacy. When a man finds his purpose, he stops living for today and starts building for tomorrow. He thinks generationally. He plans beyond his lifetime. He invests in things that will outlive him. He's not trying to get rich quick. He's trying to build wealth that lasts. He's not trying to be famous now. He's trying to be remembered forever. He's not trying to feel good today. He's trying to do good for generations. He plants trees he'll never sit under. He builds businesses his children will inherit. He writes books his grandchildren will read. He makes decisions today that will impact people decades from now. Because that's what purpose does. It makes you think bigger than yourself, longer than your lifetime, deeper than your desires. A man without purpose lives for Friday. A man with purpose lives for eternity. The 10th thing that happens is fulfillment. And this is the thing that makes it all worth it. When a man finds his purpose and walks in it, he experiences a satisfaction that nothing else can provide. Not happiness. Happiness is temporary, circumstantial, dependent on externals. Fulfillment is permanent, internal, independent of conditions. You could be broke and fulfilled, tired and fulfilled, struggling and fulfilled, because fulfillment doesn't come from comfort. It comes from calling. It doesn't come from ease. It comes from obedience. It doesn't come from success. It comes from significance. A man walking in purpose can look himself in the mirror and respect what he sees. Not because he's perfect, because he's authentic. Not because he's arrived, because he's aligned. Not because he's finished, because he's faithful. And at the end of his life, he won't have regrets. He won't wonder what if. He won't wish he had tried. Because he did. He lived fully. He gave everything. He completed his assignment. So let me ask you something. Have you found it yet? Your purpose? The thing you were created to do? The assignment God gave you before you were born? If not, stop everything and find it. Because nothing else matters. Not your job. Not your comfort. Not your plans. Not other people's opinions. Find your purpose or spend your whole life wandering. And if you have found it, are you walking in it? Or are you still playing it safe? Still compromising? Still waiting for the perfect time? There is no perfect time. There's only now. There's only today. There's only this moment where you decide to step into who you were created to be or stay comfortable as who you've always been. When a man finds his purpose, everything changes. His decisions, his discipline, his direction, his relationships, his priorities, his peace, his power, his presence, his legacy. He becomes unstoppable. Not because he's superhuman, because he's surrendered. Not because he's stronger than everyone else, because he's aligned with something stronger than himself. He becomes the man God created him to be. Not trying to be someone else. Not copying another man's path. Not living society's definition of success. Living his unique, unrepeatable, God-ordained purpose. And when he does that, when he truly steps into his calling and walks in his purpose with conviction and courage and consistency, he doesn't just change his life. He changes the world. This is what happens when a man finds his purpose. He wakes up. He rises up. He steps up. And he never looks back. Because once you've tasted purpose, everything else tastes like poison. Once you've felt calling, everything else feels like chains. Once you've experienced what it's like to live fully alive, completely aligned, totally surrendered to your God-given assignment, you can never go back to sleepwalking through life. So find it, whatever it takes, however long it takes, whatever it costs. Find your purpose, and then give your whole life to it. Every day, every decision, every dollar, every drop of energy. Because the world doesn't need more men just existing. It needs men on fire with purpose. Men obsessed with their calling. Men who know why they're here and refuse to die until they've done it. Be that man. Find your purpose. Walk in it. And watch what God does through you. This is what happens when a man finds his purpose. He becomes who he was always meant to be. And the world is never the same.